Today, uh, normally I like to go down, you know, rabbit holes and go down how I design stories or get concepts for having true events inside stories, just to make them feel more real. Uh, Today I want to talk about events that are happening in the industry, um, especially with Paramount trying to buy Warner Brothers and Netflix trying to acquire Warner Brothers also. Um, One of the things, being a writer, trying to get my stuff out there, and trying to get other people to, read it, uh, is how is this going to impact the industry? And I have my own personal opinions on that. I just want to share that and just get it out there. Um, I personally, it's hard enough trying as a writer, no matter where you're at, to get your stuff out there and to get it, uh, to be able to have people to see it and read it. Um, Luckily, I have investments in a couple of small indie companies that I can at least pitch my product to, even though it sometimes may not be the right product for them at that time. Uh, but it gives me the opportunity to do that. And for all of my warriors, who you are, keep designing, keep pitching. We're all there to be creative and to be part of this ride and journey. Um, Now, my view on Paramount wanting to acquire Warner Brothers is they just finished, being acquired already. And the FTC normally will not allow one big merger to happen, another one back to back, because then it turns it into a monopoly, which then would have to break everything apart, and it can become a very messy deal. But at the same time, it can cause a lot of job loss at that point. Netflix, on the other hand, I feel will be a better fit for Warner Brothers. I do wish that they would just take all of the Warner Brothers properties, including all the news divisions, and bring it into one, and then gradually maybe sell off the news and the other departments. Now, having said that, as looking at impact, there's more opportunities for writers, actors, everyone that's behind the set, if there's more competition. So Netflix has, at least on the surface, has said what they're going to do with the product line, that things will still be released in the theaters, that there is some positive trend to a Netflix merger with them. On the other side, with Paramount, there is no information that's really coming out that sounds positive. And so, if Paramount was to buy Warner Brothers, it becomes what shows are going to be canceled, what projects that are on the plate right now that are greenlit will just be discontinued because it competes with a Paramount project. Paramount has already had films that are slated to go to the theaters this year that are only going to go streaming now. Leading up to the Paramount original merger, Paramount started taking shows that were slated to do anywhere between 6 to 10 seasons, and started with no notice or very little notice, bringing it down to just 4 seasons. And as a fan of some of the shows, and as you think of it from a writing standpoint, for a team, when you're designing an arc to go 6, 8, 10 seasons, and you're told in season 2 or season 3 you're going only 4, everything that you've been setting the seed and setting all that to have this beautiful arc, to have this nice clean ending, now you have an ending that you've got to rush, that sometimes doesn't feel good, doesn't fit the story narrative, and just doesn't, as as a viewer, you're like going, it wasn't that good. Because there are certain things that were teased that you're ready for, and you're never going to see it. And having Paramount take some of their movies that were designed for a theatrical release, hurts the audience, hurts the theaters, hurts everyone that's been getting ready for this to become out there as a big production. Now it becomes something that goes straight to streaming, and you lose that fan participation. There's nothing like being in the theater with a bunch of people and enjoying the experience the way it was designed to be filmed and shot that way. It's one thing to design something for a streaming service. It's another thing when you spend all that time and research and money for something to be experienced by a group of people. And that can sometimes, when you have that theater experience, that can build the film up even more, that it can have more sequels, that it can have more spin-offs, that it, merchandising, there's a lot more that goes into it when there's that group experience. But you do get a lot of companies that only want you to stream, that only want you to run into that type of a model, which takes away from the movie experience. So Netflix said that they will keep the theatrical releases, they will keep everything intact as it is right now. Now there's always going to be mergers as far as merging payroll, merging certain departments together to try to streamline things. That happens with every acquisition. But here's the thing that I'm for Paramount is at no point are they being transparent on what their true intentions are for buying Warner Brothers. They're not saying these shows compete with ours, so these shows are going to disappear. They're not coming out saying what shows are they going to keep, what shows are they getting rid of. So there's a lot that's not being out there. And if you own stock in Warner Brothers, you have to really ask, are you the shows that you're invested in, whether you are invested in Warner Brothers, because of their reputation and looking at it as a long term, whether you're invested in Warner Brothers as, you like the arts, you love the shows that they put out, whatever form of investment you are into their stocks, you need to ask the questions of what are they going to take away from the investors? What are we losing that they are going to get rid of? And why? At no point have I heard any transparency from Paramount and their new owners of what shows are going to stay, what is their vision for Warner Brothers, for DC, moving forward, and I'm not just saying this, to say that Paramount is horrible or that Netflix is better. It is, at this point in time, I think Netflix would do a better deal. As a writer, who's constantly trying to get my stuff out there, for me, I have to look at it this way. I have screenplays that will fit the Warner Brothers DC universe timelines, that will fit their margin, that I think will be 7 series blockbusters that should be in the theaters. Right? There are a lot of people that are writing that are geared more towards certain studios. I do have screenplays that will work for Warner Brothers, Netflix, or Paramount. But at that same point, if Paramount does get that merger, there's going to be less opportunities for writers to get their stuff out there. That door is going to narrow and almost close for a lot of writers unless they have the right connections in. Like I said, I can at least pitch to a couple of independent companies that I know. but trying to get into, into the big leagues in that aspect, yeah, it's harder for me just to like walk on over and hand somebody, a script, struggling writers and stuff, we all have bills to pay. We have to work, we have, and we write on the side. I, don't have the luxury, and most writers don't have the luxury of just writing and being able to just pitch to everybody. So there are films that I have that I think Paramount could do a great job with. There are films that I think Warner Brothers could do a great job with. There are screenplays and adaptations and storylines that I have that I think DC would do great with. At that point, depending on who takes over Warner Brothers, will narrow that opportunity for me to pitch. Will not only narrow that for me, but it will narrow it for other writers. It'll narrow it for other actors. It'll reduce the amount of people that are involved in this. It's one thing for me to look at this from a writer's perspective, but as a background actor, as someone who's directed in the past, I look at the whole picture. So Paramount right now for me, because I'm not getting all that information and they're not hiding it, and what Paramount has been doing recently will reduce the amount of jobs for actors, will reduce the amount of jobs for background actors, will reduce the amount of people that are behind the scenes, all of your grips, you have so many people that work behind the scenes to produce these films. And that will tighten and reduce that structure, reduce the amount of films that are being produced by those companies based on what Paramount wants to do. We need, entertainment in our form. Entertainment is a reflection of what's going on, it's a reflection of our visions for the future, it's a reflection of learning the past. And storytelling, I love storytelling. I love writing stories. I love going over history. There's a lot of things that, I would love to get out there, to the public. So most of the stuff that I'm going to produce on some of these podcasts are going to be, real quick, this is what I found in history, this is what I would put in a movie, and this is a quick synopsis, while I'm trying to fundraise for my own projects. Because it is getting harder and harder to reach out. And these types of mergers make it even harder for writers to break in. It'll make it harder for some actors to break in because there's going to be less opportunities. Luckily, there are some independent film companies. There are some writers and producers and directors that have now broken away and are now starting to start their own companies. I can't invest in all of them. I don't have that kind of money. But I have invested in a couple. And I'm now starting to dabble into writing horror. And there's a couple of new horror indie companies that are coming out from directors that want to produce more and do more with the community. So there's more coming out, but not enough to offset the loss that would happen if Paramount buys over Warner Brothers. So if there was more clarity, that would be great. Not just for people in the industry, but also for the stockholders. Because I know right now, Paramount is reaching out to stockholders and asking to buy their shares so that they can force that merger. That can actually cause the stock to drop down the road. That can cause a lot more, if Paramount came out and said what they were doing, that might actually increase the stock share. People might feel more confident. But since Paramount is doing so many things right now that look like it's favoritizing their own streaming and taking away from the theaters, taking away from the consumers, taking away their choice of how they want to watch, to me that's going to be a negative for the industry, and a negative for the consumers and a negative for the consumer rights. of what you can watch, when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, and enjoy your experience. All right, that's enough of that. Next time I'll get back, it'll be some more storytelling and a couple of things on some other books. All right, thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the day.